Hello students, in this session we will discuss the topic equivalent mass of salt. Our today's topic is equivalent mass of salt. What's meant by a salt? What's meant by a salt which contains cation and anion? Salt is the one which contains a cation and anion, right? Now, in a usual manner, equivalent mass of salt can be calculated as formula mass of salt over valency factor of salt. In the previous classes, we studied valency factor for an acid as the number of replaceable hydrogens. Next, valency factor of a base, number of replaceable OH groups. Now here, valency factor of a salt is nothing but formula mass of salt over what is valency factor of salt? Either total positive charges obtained in the form of cation or total negative charges in an anion. Either total charges of cation or that of anion. Either total positive charges or total negative charges. Either total positive charges or negative charges. Either positive or negative we have to consider. Do remember that point. Either positive charges or negative charges, anyone. Usually in a neutral salt, total number of positive charges will be always same as total number of negative charges. For example, you take sodium chloride, which dissociates to give Na plus Cl minus. Na plus Cl minus. How to count these positive charges? You know, this is called as coefficient and this is called as power. Coefficient into power gives us total number of positive charges. Similarly here also, this is coefficient 1 into power gives us total negative charges. Means for a salt, valency factor is nothing but either this product or this product. So observe carefully. If it is a salt like Na2SO4, which dissociates, sodium always will be obtained in the form of Na plus cation. There are two sodiums here, so two Na plus ions, 2 moles of Na plus ions in 1 mole of salt, plus SO4 power minus 2. Now how to count the total charges? Just now we discussed. Coefficient multiplied with power. 2 into plus, 2 plus charges. Coefficient 1 into minus 2, 2 minus charges. So either this or this, we have to take it as valency factor for this given salt. Understood? Suppose CaCO3, calcium carbonate, CaCO3 decomposed to give Ca2 plus the CO3 power minus 2. What are total plus charges? 2. Total minus charges are also 2. So valency factor for calcium carbonate is 2. So this valency factor we have to take in the denominator. This is how we have to calculate equivalent mass of a salt. So by looking at a substance, we can easily identify whether it belongs to acid or a base or a salt like that. By practicing several questions for JEE and NEET such competitive exams, we will come to know. That's not a matter actually. We need not worry about identification of substance. See, it cannot generate any H plus. It cannot generate any OH minus. So it is neither acid nor a base. But moreover, we can say calcium cation and carbonate anion, right? So cation and anion we can see it's a salt. Understood? Once again, equivalent mass of salt, our today's topic. Salt is the one which contains cation and anion. So equivalent mass of salt can be calculated as formula mass of salt over valency factor of salt. Now you got the logic by this time. For an acid, valency factor is basicity. For a base, valency factor is acidity. For a salt, what is valency factor? Either total positive charges or total negative charges. Understood? So these are some examples. For example, NaCl dissociates to give Na plus cation and Cl minus anion. Total plus charges can be calculated as coefficient into plus charge power. Total minus charges are coefficient into power. This is how we have to calculate the valency factor of a salt. Okay. Now using this formula, let us calculate the equivalent mass of some salts. Okay. Now here we will take a salt and its corresponding cation and anion. Salt on dissociation giving cations and anions. Formula mass of salt. Formula mass of salt. Valency factor of salt. And equivalent mass of salt. Equivalent mass of salt. Got it? Here you may get a doubt. In previous classes, in the calculation of equivalent mass of acids and bases, we use molecular mass of acid or molar mass of acid or molar mass of base like that. But when it comes to a salt, we are using the word formula mass instead of molar mass. Formula mass instead of molar mass. Why that difference? Let us discuss. Suppose you consider a substance like CO2. Consider a substance like CO2, carbon dioxide. One carbon dioxide molecule is possible. Existence of one CO2 is possible. Okay, take another substance, H2O molecule, one H2O molecule, one ammonia molecule. Like that, these substances are having molecular existence. These substances, they have molecular existence. That's why one molecular mass of one molecule, we are expressing their molecular mass. If it is for 1 mole of molecules, gram molecular mass. Like that. You got the point? If it has a molecular existence, we can call its mass as molecular mass. Understood? But in case of salts, they have crystalline structure. Crystalline structure means every cation will be surrounded by several number of anions. Every anion will be surrounded by several number of cations. For example, if you take rock salt, sodium chloride structure, every Na plus is surrounded by 6 chloride anions. Every chloride ion is surrounded by 6 sodium cations. Of course, that is called as coordination number. In that way, they have a crystalline structure, 3-dimensional crystalline structure. They do not have any molecular existence. NaCl, one NaCl molecule we cannot do. Right? As they do not have molecular existence, we cannot call its mass as molecular mass. Instead, one Na and one Cl are combinedly existing, collectively existing. So, one formula is NaCl. Yes, one formula is NaCl. That's why the mass of that formula we are calling it as formula mass. Understood? So, do remember that for ionic substances or salts, we should not call their mass as molecular mass. Instead, we have to use the word formula mass. Right? Now, let's come to the old salt, sodium chloride, which dissociates to give Na plus Cl minus. This is how sodium chloride dissociates. And what are total positive charges and total negative charges? Coefficient multiplied with the power. 1 plus charge. Coefficient multiplied with power. 1 minus charge. Valency factor is 1. And what is formula mass of this salt? 1 sodium and 1 chlorine. This is 23. Atomic mass of sodium is 23, you know. And chlorine is 35.5. If you sum them up, it is 58.5. 58.5. Is that clear? Now, equivalent mass of salt is formula mass of salt by its valency factor. Valency factor means either total positive or total negative charges. So, 58.5 by 1. Understood? So, this is one simple example. Suppose if you take Na2SO4, sodium sulfate, how to dissociate? Sodium always will be in the form of Na plus. 2 sodium atoms are there. So, 2 sodium ions. Plus, as 2 positive charges are out, SO4 will be left with 2 units of negative charges. Yes. Now, what is valency factor? Coefficient into power. 2 plus charges. Coefficient is 1 here into 2 minus charges in the power. 2 negative charges. Either 2 plus charges or 2 minus charges. Valency factor is 2. Now what is the formula mass of the salt? Sulfur is 32. Oxygen, each one is 16, 4. 64 plus 32, 96. 96 plus 2 into 23, 46. 96 plus 46. How much? It is 2. Right? 142. Yeah? Suppose. Now, 142 is the mass. 64 plus 32, you make it 64. 16 for 64 plus 32, it is 96. 96 plus 23 to 46. Good. We have to cross check the molar mass values or formula mass values always. 142, valency factor is 2. So equivalent mass is 142, formula mass by valency 79. Let us take a different salt. Suppose MgSO4. MgSO4, magnesium sulfate. Yes. Which dissociates to give Mg power 2 plus SO4 power 2 minus. SO4 sulfate is always with 2 units negative charge. Sulfate anion always carries 2 units negative charge. It's fixed. Yes, it's fixed. Now, this is SO4. This is magnesium ion. You know this is 96. Just now we calculated. This is 24. 96 plus 24. 120. Right? Its formula mass is 120. Now, what is its valency factor? Coefficient into power 2 plus charges, coefficient into power 2 minus charges. Either this or that we have to take, consider. So, this is formula mass, this is the valency factor. So, equivalent mass is 60. Right? Now, let's take a different salt, calcium carbonate, which dissociates to give Ca2 plus CO3 minus. Okay? Ca2 plus CO3 power 2 minus. Now, formula mass is, the valency factor is 2 and 2. If you sum their atomic masses, calcium is 40, carbon is 12, this is 16, 3 is 48. So, 100. Total value is 100. Formula mass is 100 and valency factor is 2. Then equivalent mass is 100 by 2, it is 50. So, these values you have to memorize almost. Because while doing a numerical for higher level of competitive examinations, we need not do all these things again in the examination. You need to remember this. This is formula mass is 100, equivalent mass is 50. That's it. Fatapat we have to do. Understood? You should be very quick. How to be very quick? By practicing these such questions or salts several number of times, it will be memorized. You need not worry. Okay. Similarly, let's come to one more salt. Aluminium sulfate. Al2SO4 taken thrice. Aluminium sulfate. As I said earlier, each sulfate always carries 2 units negative charge. You remember that? Each sulfate always carries 2 units negative charge. So, SO4 minus 2 is definite. How many sulfate units are there? 3. Plus, aluminium valency is 3. Aluminium always loses 3 electrons, right? Aluminium always loses 3 electrons means it is Al per 3 plus. How many such aluminiums are there? 2. So, dissociation of a salt also. Sometimes some students may stop at this area. You need not worry. For every simple doubt, you can approach your teacher. Understood? So, you should not hesitate to ask doubts. And in fact, it is good for you actually to develop the subject. You should always raise questions. It may be simple question. No one will say anything here. Okay. So, what are total number of positive charges? 6. Total number of negative charges are also 6. And what is its formula mass? Tell me, what's the formula mass of this one? If you count, aluminum is 2 into 27 plus 96 into 3. Yes, minus 12. Right, it is 342. Right, 342. You sum them up, you will get it as 342. So, formula mass is 342, valency factor is 6, Equivalent mass is 342 by 6, whatever it is. Like this, we have to practice a more number of salts in this way. You take a salt, find its equivalent mass. Definitely, whenever a question is raised on its a particular formula, you can access that immediately because the values will be on the tips. No, so that sort of perfection we need to get only by practice, right? Next, so this is how we calculate equivalent mass of some salts. Is that clear? Next, let us discuss some questions. For example, they may ask you a question. Calculate equivalent mass of oxalic acid. Oxalic acid. So they may give oxalic acid means this 2 carboxylic acid groups. Options will be given. First option is suppose 90. Second option is 45. Third option is 180, and fourth option is 135. Suppose these are the options. So by looking at the options, we can predict something. Now, what is this oxalic acid? COH twice. We can find its molecular mass, right? It's a molecule. It's not a salt. It's not a salt. It's a molecule. So molecular mass we can say. So if you add these two carbons, H2C2O4, this is oxalic acid. 2 into 1 corresponds to atomic mass of hydrogen. Yes. Plus 2 into each carbon is 12. Plus 4 into each oxygen is 16. If you sum them up, it is 90. This is molecular mass of oxalic acid. Right? Now, what is valency factor of oxalic acid? What is valency factor of oxalic acid? Tell me. Valency factor of acid means number of replaceable hydrogens, which is also called as basicity. Yes. So, it's replaceable hydrogens. This is 1 and this is 1. So, 2. Now, equivalent mass of H2C2O4 oxalic acid is molecular mass of H2C2O4 over its valency factor, that is 90 by 2, that is 45. Is that clear? We are given with a question to find equivalent mass of oxalic acid. Formula is also given. This is simple formula, H2C2O4, right? That is with functional group specification. 2 carboxylic acid functional groups are there. Now, by looking at the options, we can easily predict. So, molecular mass is 90. We have to remember. Of course, we are going to. Don't worry about all those factors. By solving certain number of questions, all these molar mass values will be stored automatically. We need not worry. So, oxalic acid is 90. Yes, and its valency factor is 2. Molar mass 90 by 2, 45. The same question with different options will be given. Now the question is different. Equivalent mass of oxalic acid. They won't specify the formula this time. How to solve it? Yes. Oxalic acid valency factor is 2. Molar mass is 90. Then 90 by 2, 45 should be the value. There is no 45 specified here. Yes. By looking at these such questions and such options, don't be panic, okay? It is about oxalic acid only. In the previous question, we discussed anhydrous oxalic acid, means only H2C2O4, 2 carboxylic acid groups. But in this question, they are discussing about hydrated oxalic acid. Sir, won't they specify? Sometimes they need not. See, there is no 45 means 45 is the equivalent mass of anhydrous oxalic acid only. Now there is no 45 means this is not anhydrous. It is hydrated oxalic acid. What is hydrated oxalic acid? That is H2C2O4 dot to H2. H2C2O4 dot to H2. Right? See, once again, COOH twice. Hydrated oxalic acid means COH twice dot to H2O. This is called as hydrated oxalic acid. In this formula, you know the molar mass of this unit. It is 90 plus each water molecule molar mass is 18. 2 into 18. It is 90 plus 36. 126 is the molar mass of hydrated oxalic acid. What's the valency factor? What's the valency factor? Number of replaceable hydrogens. Yes, it is. My question is, it is still 2 or water also can generate, each water can generate 1 H plus, no? So, two water molecules can generate 2 H plus ions, isn't it? So, 2 plus 2, it should be 4. Is it 4 or only 2? Like this, such questions will be raised. The point is, water can generate H plus as well as OH minus. Water is not generating H plus alone, it is also generating OH minus. So, this nature is compensated by this nature. Acidic nature is compensated by basic group, right? That's why it is neither acidic nor basic. You understood the point? That's why replaceable hydrogens of water need not be considered. Replaceable hydrogens of water need not be considered. Only these two hydrogens are to be treated as replaceable hydrogens, because water generates H plus as well as OH minus. The nature is nullified. Understood? That's why still the valency factor, the replaceable hydrogens are still 2. Is that clear? We got molar mass, we got valency factor. Now equivalent mass of H2C2O4 dot to H2O is molar mass by its valency factor. That is, what is molar mass? 126 by 2, that is 60. So sometimes by looking at the options, we will come to know it is hydrated or anhydrous. If it is anhydrous, molar mass is 90, equivalent mass is 45. If it is hydrated oxalic acid, molar mass is 126 and equivalent mass is 63. Yes? So we need to practice these sort of questions. There will be so many questions like this. By selecting a good MCQ questionnaire, we can, right? Now our next concept is calculation of equivalent mass of oxidizing and reducing agents. Calculation of equivalent mass of oxidizing and reducing agents. But before that, before learning something about oxidizing agent and reducing agent, we need to learn a concept called as oxidation number, oxidation and reduction. So our immediate topic is oxidation number or oxidation state. Okay. So time being we can use either oxidation number or oxidation state. What's meant by oxidation number? It is arbitrary charge possessed by an atom with respect to the surrounding atoms. I am repeating, oxidation number or oxidation state is nothing but arbitrary charge possessed by an atom with respect to the surrounding atom. Got it? Suppose you take H2O and OF2, right? You know that more electronegative atom must be placed in the right side. More electronegative atom is to right. Now, this structure is C. Even this also. Right? Now here, among these two atoms, which is more electronegative? Tell me, which is more electronegative? Oxygen. So, actually, hydrogen and oxygen were held by one covalent bond by sharing these two electrons. This electron belongs to oxygen, this electron belongs to hydrogen. Similarly, this belongs to oxygen, this belongs to hydrogen. Of course, oxygen has two lone pair of electrons also. right? Now you see, among H and O, which is more electronegative? You know that you might have studied electronegativity concept earlier. Electronegativity is the ability of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons more towards itself, not to gain. I didn't use the word gain. See, what is electronegativity? It's the ability of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons more towards itself. That's it. Just to attract the shared pair of electrons more towards itself. Now, among these two, oxygen is more electronegative, right? So what will it do? It attracts its own electron and also that of hydrogen. So these two electrons will be now attracted towards oxygen. This is how the picture will be. Actually, we expected the electron pair to be under equal influence of both the atoms, right? But because of more electronegativity, what's happening? The two electrons will be more closer towards oxygen. So that what's happening actually, see, this is hydrogen atom. Inside one nucleus, one positive proton is there. Outside one negative electron is there. Number of positive charges are compensated by number of negative charges, even though they are in bonding. But now, as when hydrogen's electron is moved away from its position, suppose these two are held, this is oxygen suppose. So when hydrogen's electron is moving away from its nucleus, see, hydrogen's electron is moving towards oxygen. Now hydrogen's plus charge is not getting compensated now. When its electron moves away from the nucleus, hydrogen's plus charge, which is inside the nucleus, right? Positive charge, proton. Hydrogen's plus charge is remained uncancelled or compensated. That's why one positive charge, partial positive charge will be exhibited on hydrogen. Why partial positive charge is exhibited? Whatever the negative charge compensating this positive charge, now it had moved away. It's compensating negative charge species has moved away. So it's not getting cancelled. It is left uncancelled, right? That's why one positive charge, arbitrary positive charge will be shown out. Similarly, what happened at oxygen? This is oxygen's own electron. But this is the electron of hydrogen. As oxygen had gained one extra electron, there is no extra positive charge inside oxygen. Understood? There is no extra positive charge inside oxygen. Oxygen has 8 atomic number, 8 protons and 8 electrons. They are exactly equal. But when oxygen gains one extra electron, there is no positive charge to compensate the negative charge, right? That's why whatever the excess negative charge it had attracted, that will be shown out as partial negative. In this way, during this bond polarity, this is a positive pole, this is a negative pole. Such formation of positive pole and negative pole is called as polarity. Understood? And such a molecule is said to be polar molecule. Whatever the molecule that can form a positive pole as well as a negative pole by means of this sort of distribution, that is said to be a polar molecule, and these are called as poles, positive pole and negative pole. Now, what's the partial charge on hydrogen? Positive charge. Here it is negative charge. The same way, when it comes to this bond also, among oxygen and hydrogen, which is more electronegative? Tell me. Oxygen is more electronegative. So, it attracts hydrogen's electron also more towards itself, so that some extra negative charge will be developed at oxygen and partial positive charge will be developed at hydrogen. Understood? Now, totally, oxygen has got how many negative charges? Tell me. 2 units of negative charges. 2 minus, of course, partial charges only. On each hydrogen, 1 plus charge is developed. Partial charges only, partial charges. Is that clear? Now let's come to OF2 molecule. Let's come to OF2 molecule. Among oxygen and fluorine, which is more electronegative? Tell me now. Which is more electronegative? Now fluorine is more electronegative than oxygen. You know the meaning of electronegativity. Its ability to attract the shared pair of electrons more towards itself, isn't it? Now, being more electronegative, fluorine will attract oxygen's electron more closer towards itself, so that an extra partial negative charge will be developed on fluorine, partial positive will be developed on oxygen. The same way, in this bond also, fluorine will attract its own electron as well as oxygen's electron. So, another partial positive charge will be developed on oxygen, partial negative will be developed on fluorine. Now, the same oxygen, see here and there, same oxygen. In this case, as surrounding atoms are weak, oxygen had gained 2 negative charges. As here surrounding atoms are strong, oxygen had lost 2 units of negative charge. So, 2 positive charges it has got. So, in this way, with respect to the surrounding atoms, sometimes an atom may get negative charge, sometimes an atom may get positive charge, sometimes it may not get any charge, it may be neutral also. This is all arbitrary, it's not permanent charges, right? These are all arbitrary with respect to the surrounding atoms, right? Such an arbitrary charge possessed by an atom with respect to the surrounding atoms is called as oxidation number. What is oxidation number? Arbitrary charge possessed by an atom with respect to the surrounding atoms is called as oxidation number, right? Now, we have certain set of rules to calculate these oxidation numbers. Okay, we have a set of rules to find these oxidation numbers or oxidation states, of course, right? In the next class, we are going to discuss about that, right?